adventure starts with the right gear, and it all starts at shackshop.us. From stylish women's swimsuits and premium camping tents to paddleboards, underwater drones, and dependable dinghies, we have everything you need for your next outdoor adventure. Whether you're exploring the water or relaxing on shore, gear up with quality products at unbeatable prices. Visit shackshop.us today and make every adventure.
A powerful magnitude 7.7 earthquake struck eastern Indonesia early Saturday, unleashing violent shaking across parts of the Flores region, damaging buildings and sending residents rushing away from coastal areas after authorities issued a tsunami warning. The earthquake struck near Flores in East Nusa Tenggara province at approximately 5:58 a.m. local time, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The epicenter was located about 68 kilometers, or roughly 42 miles, north-northwest of End, and the quake occurred at a shallow depth of approximately 10 kilometers, or 6 miles. The combination of the earthquake's enormous magnitude and shallow depth immediately raised concerns about severe shaking, structural damage, and the possibility of tsunami waves reaching nearby coastlines. Indonesia's Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics Agency, known as BMKG, issued tsunami warnings for portions of East Nusa Tenggara, West Nusa Tenggara, South Sulawesi and Southeast Sulawesi. Residents in affected coastal areas were urged to move away from beaches and riverbanks and seek higher ground. Violent shaking sends residents running as the earthquake struck. Residents in parts of Flores were confronted with the terrifying experience of a major earthquake occurring shortly after dawn. Video circulating from the affected region showed structures shaking violently and portions of buildings collapsing. One report described a building crumbling as people screamed and ran for safety. At Maumere port, a waiting room structure reportedly collapsed. Damage was also reported at the Ritapiret Seminary, where parts of the structure came down during morning mass. One priest was reported injured, although early reports indicated that there were no immediate reports of widespread fatalities. The absence of an immediate large death toll does not necessarily mean the disaster is over. Major earthquakes can leave dangerous buildings unstable, block roads, damage bridges, and disrupt communications. Search and rescue teams may also need hours to reach isolated communities, particularly in an island nation as geographically complicated as Indonesia. Authorities therefore continued assessing the situation as reports came in. A dangerous sequence of aftershocks, the main 7.7 earthquake, was followed by a series of strong aftershocks. According to reports citing earthquake monitoring agencies, a magnitude 5.9 earthquake struck roughly 15 minutes after the main shock. A magnitude 5.6 quake followed shortly afterward, and another earthquake measured around magnitude 6.1 was recorded later in the sequence. Additional aftershocks were also reported. Aftershocks can be particularly dangerous following a major earthquake because structures already weakened by the first shock can collapse during subsequent shaking. For residents who had escaped damaged buildings, the continuing earthquakes created another layer of fear. People were also confronted with an especially serious warning, the possibility that the earthquake could generate tsunami waves. Why a 7.7 earthquake can produce a tsunami? Earthquakes beneath or near the ocean do not automatically produce tsunamis. The greatest tsunami danger generally occurs when a large earthquake causes significant movement of the seafloor, displacing a huge volume of water. The Flores earthquake was particularly concerning because it was both powerful and relatively shallow. The USGS placed the earthquake at a depth of approximately 10 kilometers. That shallow depth meant that the shaking could be extremely intense near the epicenter. The tsunami warning was therefore a precaution designed to give coastal residents time to get away from areas where rapidly rising water could become deadly. Authorities specifically warned people to stay away from beaches and riverbanks. That warning is important because tsunami danger does not necessarily remain confined to the immediate shoreline. Waves can travel inland through waterways and low-lying coastal areas. For people living near the coast, moving inland or to higher elevation can be one of the most important actions following a major offshore earthquake. Indonesia's location makes earthquakes a constant threat. Indonesia is one of the world's most earthquake-prone countries. The nation sits along the Pacific Ring of Fire, a massive zone surrounding much of the Pacific Ocean where several tectonic plates interact. That geological environment produces frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Indonesia is also made up of thousands of islands, meaning that major earthquakes can affect communities separated by large stretches of ocean and difficult terrain. The region around Flores has experienced devastating earthquakes and tsunamis before. One of the most important historical reminders came in 1992, when a major earthquake in the Flores region generated a tsunami that killed approximately 2,500 people. That history helps explain why Indonesian authorities take tsunami warnings extremely seriously. When a major earthquake occurs offshore, officials cannot simply wait until they know exactly what will happen. Evacuations and warnings are intended to put people in safer locations before potentially destructive waves arrive. The difference between an earthquake warning and a tsunami warning for people watching the unfolding disaster from outside Indonesia. It is important to understand that an earthquake warning and tsunami warning are two different things. An earthquake warning concerns the shaking caused by the earthquake itself. A tsunami warning concerns the potential for dangerous waves generated by an earthquake or another underwater disturbance. A tsunami warning does not guarantee that a destructive tsunami will occur. It means authorities believe there is sufficient potential danger that coastal residents should take action. In this case, Indonesia's authorities moved quickly to warn people in multiple provinces. That response is especially important because tsunamis can arrive quickly after nearby earthquakes, leaving coastal communities little time to react. The human reaction to a major earthquake for people on the ground, a magnitude 7.7 earthquake, is not simply a number on a seismologist's chart. It can mean seconds of terror. Furniture can move. Windows can break. Walls can crack. Electricity can fail. People can lose their balance. Buildings can sway violently. And when the shaking stops, another question immediately emerges: will there be another one? That fear becomes even greater when residents are told that aftershocks are continuing. For many people, the safest option is to remain outside or move to designated evacuation areas rather than return immediately to buildings that may have suffered structural damage. The images emerging from Flores demonstrate why residents should not assume that a structure is safe simply because it remains standing. A building can suffer hidden structural damage that may not be obvious from the outside. Tsunami monitoring becomes the next priority following the earthquake. Authorities closely monitored coastal conditions. Reports indicated that tsunami waves of less than 1 meter were recorded in several locations, according to Reuters. Even relatively small tsunami waves can become dangerous under the right circumstances, especially around harbors, narrow bays, rivers, and low-lying coastal areas. Water can surge inland with powerful currents, even when the wave height does not appear enormous. That is why emergency authorities generally advise residents to follow official evacuation instructions rather than attempting to judge the threat by looking at the ocean. The ocean can also behave unpredictably during a tsunami event. Water may suddenly retreat from the shoreline before a wave arrives. A rapidly receding sea should therefore never be interpreted as an invitation to approach the exposed seabed. It can be a natural warning sign of dangerous waves approaching. A developing disaster, one of the biggest challenges following a major earthquake, is obtaining accurate information. Initial reports often focus on the epicenter, magnitude, and tsunami threat. Only later do authorities begin developing a complete picture of damaged homes, roads, schools, hospitals, ports, and other infrastructure. The situation in Indonesia remained fluid as emergency agencies assessed affected communities. Early reports indicated significant structural damage, but no immediate widespread casualty count. That picture could change as rescue workers reach more remote areas and conduct building-by-building assessments. Indonesia's geography makes that process particularly difficult. Communities can be separated by mountains, islands, and bodies of water, and some roads may become inaccessible after an earthquake. What happens next? The immediate priorities following an earthquake of this magnitude are straightforward but challenging. First comes the search for injured and trapped people. Then emergency crews must determine which buildings are safe, restore essential services, and keep people away from unstable structures. At the same time, seismologists continue tracking aftershocks. Officials must also monitor the ocean and determine when tsunami warnings can safely be lifted. Even after the immediate tsunami threat passes, residents cannot simply assume the danger has disappeared. Aftershocks can continue for hours, days, or even longer. Emergency authorities therefore face a delicate balancing act, warning residents about continuing dangers without creating unnecessary panic. A powerful reminder of nature's force. The 7.7 earthquake in Indonesia is another reminder that modern technology can detect earthquakes quickly, but humans still cannot prevent them. What technology can do is provide better information. Seismic monitoring networks can identify the location and magnitude of an earthquake. Tsunami monitoring systems can watch ocean conditions. Emergency agencies can send warnings to residents. And communities can prepare by knowing where to evacuate before disaster strikes. For residents of earthquake-prone areas, preparation can mean the difference between confusion and decisive action. The events unfolding in Flores also demonstrate why tsunami warnings should always be taken seriously. When the ground shakes violently near the ocean, people should not wait for a wave to appear. They should listen to local authorities, move away from the shoreline, and seek higher ground when instructed. The world watches Flores. The magnitude 7.7 earthquake that struck near Flores has drawn international attention because of its strength, shallow depth, structural damage, and the immediate tsunami threat. The earthquake also serves as a reminder of the extraordinary geological forces operating beneath Indonesia. For the people of Flores and surrounding islands, however, this is not simply a geological event. It is a personal disaster unfolding in homes, communities, ports, schools, and places of worship. Families are waiting to determine whether their homes are safe. Emergency workers are searching damaged structures. Residents remain alert for aftershocks. And coastal communities are watching the sea. The full impact of the earthquake will become clearer as emergency crews complete their assessments. For now, authorities continue to emphasize safety and evacuation guidance while monitoring seismic and ocean conditions. One thing is already clear: a magnitude 7.7 earthquake is an extraordinary event, and the damage left behind can continue posing dangers long after the initial shaking stops. For Indonesia, a country accustomed to living with earthquakes, the latest disaster is another sobering reminder that preparedness, rapid warnings, and respect for the power of nature remain essential. And for the people of Flores, the immediate priority is simple: stay safe, stay alert, and wait for authorities to determine when it is safe to return home.